As we approach the end of another year and the beginning of a new one, we're going to find ourselves being encouraged by a lot of people to look to the future at what might be in store for us. But it won't have escaped your attention that when it comes to anxiety, this is a huge part of the problem. So many of our anxious thoughts stem from our engagement with all the possible outcomes that lie in our future. Put simply, it's the what ifs that cause us to feel anxious. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you how you can eradicate those what-if thoughts and set yourself up for a slightly more peaceful and joyful 2026. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Tim Box. I'm a mind coach and anxiety therapist, and for well over a decade now, I've been helping people get control of their anxiety response and build a healthier relationship with their own mind. And one thing I hear about all the time from my clients is their constant engagement with those what-if thoughts. What if something goes wrong? What if I can't cope? What if I never feel normal again? Well, here's the important thing to understand right from the start. It's not life itself that fuels anxiety, it's the what ifs we attach to it. We're not anxious about what's happening right now, we're anxious about what we fear might happen in the future. The truth is that if we could let go of all of those what ifs and simply live our life as it comes, then anxiety probably wouldn't even be a concern. So in this video, I want to talk about how we stop entertaining those thoughts and start enjoying our life again. As much as you might be invested in trying to see the next possible disaster coming before it actually hits you, the simple truth is you're not a fortune teller. None of us are. We've never been able to accurately and comprehensively predict the future, and yet how often do we live our day-to-day life as if we need to? But think about it. Every single day of your life has involved the unexpected. So plans change, things don't go the way you imagined, life throws you curveballs. There are millions, maybe billions of possibilities at the start of every new day. And every time we find out something new, no matter how trivial or inconsequential, we're effectively forced to confront the unexpected. And yet, you handle it, you adapt, you respond, you cope. In fact, dealing with the unpredictable is something you've been practicing since the day you were born. As a result, you've become pretty good at it. Hey, it might even be the thing you're best at. The fact you can't predict the future hasn't stopped you living your life so far, because that's how life works. Things happen, we respond. No matter how proactive you try to be, you've inevitably become highly skilled at being reactive because you've had to be every day of your life. It's almost like predicting the future isn't just impossible, it's also unnecessary. Why do we actually ask ourselves the what-if questions? Well, it's because we're trying to see the next challenge coming and maybe either swerve it or brace for it. But having already established that we can't do that, the question then remains, so how do we stay safe? Well, think about this for a moment. Every difficult period, every emotional low, every time you thought, I don't know how I'll get through this, you actually did get through it. Even when life knocked you over, it didn't break you. Even when you thought perhaps it had, it hadn't. After all, you're still here, still functioning, still moving forward. So when your mind says, what if I can't cope? You already know the answer to that question. Experience has taught you the answer. You've literally done the research. You can cope. You always have. And in some way, at some point, this challenge you face, you will get the other side of it. When we're in an anxious frame of mind, we inevitably view the world and what might potentially happen through the lens of threat. We look at the likelihood of disasters occurring from a greatly negatively biased perspective. This means that anxious minds massively overestimate how often bad things happen. When we've been through more than a handful of life-altering events, things that shook us or altered our perspective on things, it's easy to look back at our life and tell a story of constant hardship and struggle. It can feel like we never get a break, and it can only be a matter of time before the next earthquake hits our world. The truth, however, is that roughly 99.99% of the time, nothing much happens. For every genuine challenge you've faced, there have been thousands of ordinary, neutral, or even good moments when nothing tremendously dramatic occurred at all. Most days are pretty boring. Most moments are fine. And most outcomes are nowhere near as bad as the mind actually predicts. So if we find ourselves predicting disaster on the horizon, it can be worth reminding ourselves that, statistically speaking, it's much more likely that nothing will happen. Why imagine worst case scenarios when today is far more likely to be just another day? My original hypnosis mentor was extremely fond of pointing out that our mind doesn't necessarily know the difference between imagination and reality. In the same way that when we dream, there's a part of our mind creating the fantasy and another part reacting to it as if we didn't know what was about to happen, when we're awake and we anxiously imagine the worst case scenario, a part of our mind will activate whatever response is deemed appropriate to that imagined scenario. This is often why when we have a propensity to imagine the worst, we often find our body reacting to that by putting us into fight or flight. Then of course a part of us says something must be wrong because we seem to be bracing for disaster. Quick, find the threat. And it's that find the threat feeling that causes us to imagine the potential what ifs all over again. The harsh reality here is that when you live in a state of what if, your body reacts as if those imagined disasters are already happening. Your nervous system just responds to where your attention goes. It's not a malfunction, it's quite the opposite. It's your mind responding to what it believes is important information. So you have two choices. You can rehearse every possible disaster and live as if danger is constant, or you can live what's actually happening. One option has us focusing on the imagined futures and creates anxiety. The other has us focused in the present and, for the reasons already discussed, creates calm. So the goal is to make this vital shift from focusing on the what ifs to what? Focusing on something else? Well, here's the thing. The goal isn't to stop what if thoughts appearing. Those thoughts are normal, they're human. The shift doesn't come in changing the thoughts, it comes in changing how we react to them. Because it might not be easy to just stop having these thoughts. After all, we've been having them for a while. But what we can do, we can stop treating them like questions that need answering. Instead of asking, what if this happens, return your focus to what's actually happening right now. And very often the answer is, I'm safe, I'm here, nothing bad's occurring. It's not about changing the things we imagine or trying to invalidate the what ifs. It's more about recognizing that these are just thoughts. They're not real. The anxious mind lives in the future. Peace and calm lives in the present. You don't need to eliminate uncertainty to feel better. You just need to stop trying to live events that haven't happened. Deal less with life's what ifs and more with the what is. Focus less on the imagined and more on what's real. Clients will often tell me their goal is to be more present, to enjoy their time with family and friends, to live in the moment and be spontaneous and free. But this isn't something we need to learn how to do, because it's only the what if thoughts about the future that get in the way of it happening naturally. Once we fully accept that these thoughts don't hold any truth, value, or in fact any threat, we find we can let them go and start to appreciate a lot more what's actually happening here and now. If this video resonated and you'd like more help learning how to disengage from anxious thinking patterns like this, you'll find links in the description to the members area of the channel and also to my one-to-one client work. Or just subscribe to the channel for weekly anxiety-related videos. In fact, you can check out another one of those right here. But that's it for now. I'm Tim Box. Always remember, be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.